What would you wish, like if you had a chance to go back in the past, what kind of advice would you give to your mom as she was raising you?
I don't know that I'd ever be in the position to give her advice, but I do have one wish. I do wish she was less stressed. Like, I recognize that I can be a completely different parent because I can manage my stress much better, right? Like, I have the money to solve problems, right? I have a community, I have a partner, I have lots of resources available to me that I don't think she did to manage her own needs and her own stress. And so I wish she was less stressed. I wish she had the experience of being able to like just be a mom and to really enjoy some of those beautiful moments without the worry about the money or the worry about did she send pictures to whoever wanted them, without the worry of, okay, we did this really cool thing today. Will it mess things up in a few weeks? Right. Like I wish that for her.
Welcome to Single Parent Success Stories, a podcast designed to inspire single parents. Here you'll find resources from self-care to finances to parenting and everything in between. Discover what it takes to thrive. Let the stories inspire you to what is possible.
Before we start the next conversation, I want to invite you to check out my amazing book, The Gift Inside, a powerful guide for healing your body, mind, and soul. Reclaim your strengths and awaken your true potential. Whether you are navigating heartbreak or simply seeking deeper fulfillment, this book offers the tools to turn your struggles into triumphs. It is time to unlock the gift within you. Available now on Amazon, or you can check it out on my website www.irinashehovtsov.com. Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Darla Bishop, affectionately known as the Finances. She is the founder of Finances LLC, a boutique consulting firm based in Lansing, Michigan, and the author of How to Afford Everything. And she was also raised by a single mom. Welcome, Darla. It is a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, thank you for coming. So please share who you are in your own words.
Yeah, so you already told them that I am the author of How to Afford Everything. And the reason I was so interested in coming on the show is because in talking about money with clients and at speaking engagements, what often comes up is, okay, that all sounds fine and good, but I'm a single parent. My income is the only income. So how can I make the money work if it's just me?
Yes, so please share with us. How can you make the money work if it's just you?
Well, so much of this will be dependent on how old your children are, right? Because at their different ages and stages, they have different needs. And so one of the things that I encourage women, especially, well, parents really, if you do have a co-parenting relationship where there is some sort of resources, and it isn't always money, because the money part can be tough when a relationship is ended, but there's still children involved. But remember to think of it holistically, right? Like, okay, so your ex can't give you money, is not paying child support. Are there other things that your ex can or is doing that does make your budget easier to manage? So things like health insurance through their job. And going beyond health insurance, a lot of people, did you know that actually nearly 60% of Americans who are working, who are employed, are underutilizing their benefits at work? And so when you're thinking about the things that could be helping to either stretch your budget or make your budget go further, remember to look not only at your employer's benefits, things like the employee assistance program, things like prepaid legal that might be included, things like childcare support. And the childcare support might come in the form of helping you identify childcare providers, subsidies for childcare, or by participating in the tax-free program called the flexible spending account for dependent care. And for those who are listening and aren't familiar with that, the FSA DC, or the flexible spending account for dependent care, is the program that allows you to set aside some of your paycheck pre-tax, and you usually get it on a debit card or something, so that you can then use pre-tax dollars to pay for your childcare up to $5,000 per year. And so maybe your job doesn't offer it, but your ex's job does. And so that could be a way to help get those daycare dollars go a little bit further. You can also use those for summer camps, which I know if you're a single parent, having a safe, reliable, educational space for your children to go over the summer can make a huge difference in your ability to work and to be satisfied and happy and balanced at work. And so thinking about the totality of the things that are available, not only the money, but resources, the time, if they are able to pick up, drop off, that saves you gas. If they're able to take care of certain types of meals or delivery, that takes that out of your budget. And so don't only think about money, think about the different things that you and your co-parent or ex, depending on the relationship, could be doing so that some of those things don't all come out of your budget.
Thank you. Yeah, you're so right. There are so many avenues and places we oftentimes don't think about. We just focus, oh, we have the scare that's coming in, but what about all the other places? What happens then if, let's say, if somebody does not use the whole amount of FSA per given year? Is it going to be returned to you, or can you use it next year? How does that?
No, you do need to use all of the flexible spending account dollars. Now you have to use it by 12/31 of that year, but even they usually give you 3 months into the following year to submit your receipts. So maybe you had some school break camp that you sent your kids to over the Christmas holiday, over the December holiday. So as long as you paid it by December 31st, you have until March to submit the receipts. So it is important to use it. Now, I have 2 small children. I mean, 2 weeks of summer camp, like 3-4 weeks of summer camp empties my FSA account. So if you have children that are school age, you're probably not going to have trouble using this money. So don't worry too much about that.
Awesome. You're right. Yeah.
The limit's only $5,000. I mean, 2 kids in full-time summer camp, that money goes pretty quickly.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, the astronomical, the cost of summer camps.
And then when they get older and have opinions like, but can I go to space camp and can I go to unicorn camp? Let's look, sweetie.
That's all right. Thank you. Now I want to switch gears a little bit and talk more about your history. You're growing up in a single parent home. How was that for you? What were some of the, like, I guess, great points, and what were some challenges or maybe things you wish were done better? As an advice, like as you share your story, for parents who are raising for parents who are raising kids, like what do you think is the most important thing the parents should know if they're raising kids alone?
Yeah, this is so tough because now that I am a parent and I am not single parenting, I do have, I am married and my husband does live with us, although he's in the military, so he's away quite a bit, but it's not the same. It is not the same as being a single parent. Don't mistake me that I know there's a difference. And what I realize as a parent who is not a single parent, that there are actually a few benefits to being a single parent. Like there are some things that I wish I could just decide. Right? Like, I wish I just had the decision rights, like this is what we're doing or this is what we're not doing. But as someone who is parenting with another person who has feelings, sometimes strong feelings or opinions about something as small as which sports or activities the kids do, like those all have a time implication, those all have a budget implication. And so working through those negotiations is something that as a single parent, you might not have to do in the same way. And the other thing that I think worked really well, and this is going to sound strange, but I actually was raised by 2 single parents. I was raised by my mom, and then when I was in high school, she was incarcerated for some time. And so then I lived with her sister, my aunt. And so then I had a second single mom experience from a really different personality, different money style, different parenting style, different affection style, different love language. And so what I think was really great about both experiences is that they never on purpose talked badly about the other parent, right? Like every once in a while, the frustration would kind of, slip out, but it always, or at least most of the time, was really frustration. right? It wasn't anger. It wasn't that low down dirty. It was kind of like this desire that things would be different, or frustration that it wasn't different. And I think that was good, because I think both of them did a great job of holding space for the parent they wished the other parent was, but also recognizing that that just wasn't the case. And so they couldn't put too much energy into it. The other thing is, like, to the extent that was possible, like, both encouraging my independence. Like, I can't come to that. I know you're going to do great. I can't wait to hear about it once you come home from that activity, that sports, that whatever. But also making the effort to show up sometimes. And I think they did a masterful job of balancing that, which is not easy, especially if you have multiple kids who are interested in multiple or different things and needing to also work and earn money and take care of a house and, have your own things that make you feel like a human. And so if you're single parenting out there, you're not sure you're getting it right. If you're trying real hard, you're probably getting it right most of the time.
Thank you. Thank you. What would you wish, like, if you had a chance to go back in the past, what kind of advice would you give to your mom as she was raising you?
I don't know if will ever be in the position to give her any advice, because my situation is just so different, partially because of the way she raised me, right? She raised me to make sure I took care of myself, that I took care of the people around me, that I was thoughtful. She raised me to be really confident, to believe that if I showed up somewhere, I belonged there, whether the people knew I was coming or not. I was supposed to be in that space. And so I don't know that I'd ever be in the position to give her advice, but I do have one wish. I do wish she was less stressed. Like, I recognize that I can be a completely different parent because I can manage my stress much better, right? Like, I have the money to solve problems, right? I have a community, I have a partner, I have lots of resources available to me that I don't think she did to manage her own needs and her own stress. And so I wish she was less stressed. I wish she had the experience of being able to, like, just be a mom and to really enjoy some of those beautiful moments without the worry about the money, or the worry about, did she send pictures to whoever wanted them, without the worry of, okay, we did this really cool thing today, will it mess things up in a few weeks, right? Like, I wish that for her.
Yeah, but you're right. We are so stressed. We have to deal with childcare and finances and all the juggling balls that we so often have to keep up in the air, and God forbid one of them drops.
Right.
Take it easy. I think when we are children, we are so fascinated and curious about life, and we are more fun-loving and carefree. And as we get older, we become these serious adults that have bills to pay, things to do, that we forget sometimes to laugh at ourselves or take things easier, because not everything is kind of, like die decision, like if it doesn't happen, it's like the world is gonna end. I think we forget that as we get older, and we gotta remind ourselves to laugh more, to be more kind of curious, and I don't know, I think it will make less stress, like you said,
Yeah, but that's a tall order, right? Like, it's really hard to be creative when you're focused all your energy on surviving. It's hard. It's hard to be fun and creative if you are worried about, will I be able to get the baby shoes? Because I know those shoes they're wearing are tight, right? That's tough.
Yeah, you're right. What do you think is the most important trait to instill in a child?
There's, on one hand, there's confidence, right? Like, the ability to believe in yourself and that you can figure stuff out. Like, that serves me well in every area of my life, every single one. And I think it's also important to instill, like, the importance of learning, because if you don't know something today, you could know it tomorrow. If you seek out the information, if you seek out the people who are already doing that or already know that. And so, like, tapping into your child's curiosity and their love for learning, because all little kids have it. Sometimes school takes it out of them. So at home, whenever you have the opportunity to like really spark that, to continue to do so in case the school setting is like lowering it, right? Because the way you have to be in school to be successful might be different than your child wants to show up in the world, but they also need to be successful in school. So like showing them ways that they can kind of balance both. Like, okay, in school, this is how you're successful. So do these things. Listen to your teacher, do your homework, ask questions. Outside of school, if you need to be more free, if you need to be more flexible, great. Because knowing how to do both is what will help get you really far in life.
Yeah, you're right. So curiosity and resourcefulness, I think, and confidence. So those
and confidence. But what's funny is when you're resourceful, you are confident, because if you know how to find something, you're like, I'll figure it out. I always figure it out.
Awesome. What kind of, if you had to pick a superpower, what would be yours?
That's a big question. You know what? This one isn't even going to sound like a superpower, but I have some people in my life who can fall asleep anywhere.
Okay.
And I don't always sleep well. Some of it is like still somehow I wake up like I'm breastfeeding, even though I haven't been breastfeeding in years. And I'm like, it's time to, no one's breastfeeding. Why are you waking up? And sometimes I'm just an overthinker. And so my brain, even though my body is tired, my brain isn't quite yet. And so I sometimes have a little bit of envy, although I'm not usually envious of people who can fall asleep anywhere in 5 seconds, like, and get their rest, because it sometimes takes me a lot. And as a parent, I'm noticing that, oh my gosh, my children have this same thing. We are going to have a rough time because we can't, like, somebody in the house has to sleep. Please, somebody.
It's not funny, but yeah.
It is funny. Laugh. I meant it to be.
I have no difficulty falling asleep, like anywhere in every place. You know, I call it, because when you are so sleep deprived, you change your personality and your behavior to adapt under the situation. So after that, you become like on call. Okay, now I'm out now.
Oh, okay. I'm pretty sleep deprived, but maybe I just haven't reached that level. Maybe that's my next level.
I use these patches that help me with my wellness and like sleep and stuff, and that kind of aids as well, like to get a good night rest. So that.
Oh, please put the link in the show notes so I can find the patches. I need them.
Yeah, we'll talk after. So let's talk about your book. What kind of inspired you to write this book? And I love the title, How to Afford Anything. That's incredible.
Well, the reason I wrote How to Afford Everything is layered. Like, first of all, I recognize that some of the things we went through growing up could have been prevented or just much more easily solved if my mom, my aunts just had a little more money, because the problems weren't always big problems as when they started, but because we couldn't solve them right away, they became much bigger problems. And I remember like very distinct moments of being like, these women are really good with their money. They just don't have enough. Like, they just don't have enough. They are really good with what the resources they have. They just don't have enough. So like, what can make the difference? And so I got a job really early in high school because I wanted to help a little, right? Like, I wanted to contribute. Like, maybe if I took care of my cell phone bill, or when it was time for those kind of big expensive things that you have as a high schooler, like the dances and the dresses and the special hairdos and the nails, like maybe if I could take care of those things, it wouldn't be hard on the family. And when I went to college and I was then surrounded by people who had a completely different money situation, right? Like I had a classmate who had a Range Rover at like 17 years old. His parents had arranged for him to be able to get a parking spot so he could park his Range Rover right outside our dorm, even though first year students were not even allowed to have cars on campus, right? And so being surrounded by kids who had lived in wealth and who had lived in ease was like eye-opening for me. And that each of them had different stories themselves, right? Like there wasn't just one way that that person's parents were successful or that person's life went. Like that there were all these ways. And so on in one hand, it told me, okay, there are like a million ways to get it right. So I just have to find the one that works for me. And I need to learn about money because as I would try to ask my classmates, well, I noticed you did this. Why did you? They were like, I don't know. That's just how my parents taught me. Or I don't know. That's just how I saw the people around me do it. So that's why I do it. I was like, oh, they can't teach me because they don't know. So I started reading personal finance books. And as I read them over the years, I've read almost 150 at this point. Like what frustrated me over and over again is here I am looking for information about how to just do money better because I want to be able to just afford everything in my life. And at some stages that was, I want to be able to pay my bills on auto pay and not be stressed about it. In some stages it was like, we really need a new car and I really like to be able to go get the car I want, not just the car I can, maybe squeeze in the monthly payment for, right? So it changed over time, but the books, so few of them gave me a where to start and where to go next if I had no idea where to start and where to go next. And a lot of them talked to me bad. Like they'd be like, you have bad money habits because you are stupid or you make bad choices. And actually, that wasn't my story. Again, the women around me were really good with their money. They just didn't have enough. So like, talk to me about how to get more money. Talk to me how to save the money I have and use it really smartly and encourage me because I picked up a book because I want to learn something. Don't call me stupid while I'm in the middle of reading the book that I paid you money for to teach me about money. And so I very much speak life into you as you read the book because I want you to feel good about money because it feels good to feel good about money. And the fact that you are picking up a book, listening to a podcast, trying to do something differently so you can be in a better spot, I want to celebrate you because you probably aren't even celebrating you.
You're right. You're right. I love that. What was like an eye opener for you as you were you said you read over 150 books. What changed in your perspective of money? Like versus when you were before reading and during and now that you have written?
So when you're poor, debt is evil. But part of the reason that debt is evil when you're poor is it's actually really expensive. Like debt can be really expensive because maybe the kind of debt you think you have access to isn't a credit card with a nice APR. Even a high 28% credit card APR is much better than what you might be paying for a title loan or a check advance, which can be upwards of 300 or 400% when you take those. Yeah, and that's not a typo. That's not if you need a cash advance, those cash advances can be 300 to 400% interest. If you go and get a title loan, I have a person in my life who they were going through a rough patch, but for a lot of reasons needed to have Christmas. Like they had a really horrible year and they were like, we need something to look forward to. So they took a title loan for $1,200 so that they could have Christmas. And they were very careful with the money. They actually stayed under budget and they didn't even use the whole $1,200 for Christmas. So they actually put a little bit aside in case January was going to be tight again. It took them $3,600. They had to pay back $3,600 for the $1,200 they borrowed.
Oh,
so these are not inflated numbers. And so if you are poor, debt can really mess you up because it's not just a 15% credit card. It's not a 0% no payment for 12 months. It's really predatory, in order for you to have access to money. But when you're rich, debt is what allows you to level up. The student loan is what allows you to go to college, what allows you to then get a better paying job. Getting the home loan is what allows you to be a homeowner. And because in the US, most people's wealth is either in their home or in their retirement account. But you have to be kind of over 50 for it to be in your retirement account. So if you're under 50, your wealth is in your home equity. And so in order to buy that home, you need to be able to take a loan, right? And so when you're poor, when you're in the lower economic status, debt, you have to be careful with it because there's so many ways that the debt can keep you trapped if you don't know enough about debt and credit. But when you're rich, your favorite thing in the world is debt. If you go on Instagram right now, there are 700 real estate people talking about, I don't buy cash for houses. I put everything on a mortgage because that allows my cash flow to do this. And that's the tax write-off, right? Like it's like that meme that like what's classy when you're rich and trashy when you're poor? Debt.
These poor and they're in debt. What is your solution? What should they do?
So if you're in debt, you need to look at, and this part is hard. So I'm gonna put my coffee down because I want to make sure that I'm speaking clearly so that the listener hears this. If you are in debt, first of all, I want you to take a deep breath and tell yourself it's going to be okay, because it will. The second thing is you got to write down every dollar that you owe to anyone. And I mean everything from the $20 you borrowed from the neighbor so that you could fill up your gas tank to the $18,000 credit card that you somehow have. I want you to write down every single debt you have. And it's going to feel heavy to do that. But once it's on paper, some of that heaviness will actually leave your body. So get a piece of paper and write down every dollar you owe to someone. And then you got to ask yourself a few questions. So why do I have this debt? 9 times out of 10, the answer is going to be what it costs me to live is higher than the money that I'm bringing in the door. And so debt has been what allowed me to keep a roof over our head, to keep my car running so I could work, to pay for the school fees, to buy the soccer cleats. And so this is how I survived. And so, okay, that's how you survive. We're not judging ourselves here. We are not shooting on ourselves. We are simply figuring out what is fact and what we could do to move forward. The next thing to do is to figure out how much does it truly, actually in real life, cost you to live every month. And the way that you're going to have to do this is you're going to have to go through your bank account statements, your credit card statements, your Venmo feed, and see, okay, what money left this house in the last 3 months. And the reason you got to look at 90 days is because every month is a little different. And so if you look at 3 months, you'll get about all the things you would get in a season, right? And so if you look at 3 months, see where all your money went, and then figure out how much it really costs you to live your life by dividing that big number over the 3 months by 3, so you know how much money you need to really have a good, easy, smooth month over the course of a month. If it turns out that that number is bigger than what you have coming in, we got to close that gap, because that's why you have debt. If you need $1,500 a month to live, which is low, so I should really say $3,500, right? If you need $3,500 a month to live, and that's with like the bare minimum, and your paychecks are $2,700, of course you have debt. How else are you living? Now, when I say this, people will say, but I already work so much. I have 2 jobs. I have kids. I have to sleep sometimes. I never said work more. I said change your income. And so you probably have a lot of skills. You might be at a job that you think is working for you because maybe there's flexibility, which does help you with being a single parent. Maybe there's really good benefits that help you offset because maybe you have a kid with a health condition, and because the health insurance is very strong and you don't have a lot of copays, you don't want to lose your health insurance because that will throw things off even more. Great. I'm glad you know that. And I promise you, there's probably another place where you can get that thing you need and more money. So your job is to figure out how to get more money in your house, because if you need $3,500, but you're only bringing in $2,700, you are going to continue to be in debt because you have an $800 a month shortfall every month after month And that's on a normal, no big emergency, nobody got sick, nobody missed work month, right? And so tap into whatever energy you can muster to figure out how do I bring more money in, and do not automatically jump to working more, because that's not always the answer.
So making a budget to check all your inflows, your outflows, and then getting an average across the 3 months and taking from there, and then figuring out how you can get maybe a better job which pays more so that you're cash flowing and you don't have any gaps to fill.
That's right. And I know that we made it sound really easy, but I know that's hard. I know that it's hard because most people don't want to look because they know it's bad and they're like, I just know it's bad and I don't want to see how bad it is. And if you look, it might not be as bad as you're thinking and feeling it is. So do the work of looking, because you might find you could move something around, you could prioritize something, you could shift something that might make a difference.
You're right. It's, placing attention on what's important, and if we want to change something, we got to track that. So looking at the things, yes, maybe they are uncomfortable, but bringing it to our awareness will cause things to change just simply because we started looking at it. Because
that's right.
Until we kind of gotta rip the band-aid. Otherwise, we'll never know what's inside. It could be like all kinds of things happening. Awesome. Is there anything I haven't asked that you would like to share?
I want to talk to the parents who are in the process of separating, right? You are actively in the process of negotiating what that looks like, dollars and cents, what that looks like, parenting time. To the best of your ability, and maybe even beyond the best of your ability, go through those negotiations with hope and with positivity. Because even if they don't work the way that you are hoping, if you have gone through them with hope and positivity, you'll still feel better about the outcome.
You're right. Thank you so much. If people would like to connect with you, learn more about you, where would they go? And where they can get their hands on your book?
Oh, this is my emotional support copy. You see, it's all tattered up with my notes and my tab. So you can get How to Afford Everything at howtoaffordeverything.com. And on the website, I have lots of free resources, some budget templates, all the worksheets that are included in the book you can download in case you just want to start the process of mapping out your debt or your income or even a career plan. One of the things I did differently with this book is I included an entire chapter on career, because if that's the way I earn money, teach me how to really make that work. And so chapter 8 is called Minding the Business That Pays You. And it's helped a lot of people. People have said, I'm so glad you put that in. I changed this at my job and my retirement's better now. And now I'm using this benefit and that saved me like $600 a year because now I'm using the company's thing versus the thing I was paying for. And so, yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll include everything in show notes. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for sharing this wisdom and teaching us, all about finances, because oftentimes we don't like talking about it.
Yeah, but it's kind of like sex. The more you do it, the easier it gets.